Phyllis and Matt team up to destroy the Newmans? The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that Phyllis Summers and Matt Clark could team up to destroy the Newman family. Both Phyllis and Matt have major beef with Ultimate of the family, so let's talk about a possible cooperation between these two. Phyllis has had a tumultuous relationship with Victor Newman since day one. Still, in recent months, the pressure has hit fever pitch. Phyllis stole Kane Ashby's AI program and struck a deal with Victor she'd give it to him if he gave her Jabbo. Victor ended up going mischief with the AI software, ultimately screwing Phyllis over. In the end, the AI program ended up turning on Victor, and now he's lost Newman Enterprises. Another plot twist would see Phyllis give Kane the charge in their cooperation, as he was going to hand the company back to Victor, and now Phyllis is the sole owner of Newman. But how long will Phyllis ride this high swell? Still, while the exact details haven't been shared on oil painting, Victor privately went out of Megacity, and his confident address seems to indicate that he formally again has the upper hand. It's only a matter of time before Newman Enterprises is his, formally again. Phyllis is sure to be outraged when Victor ends up back on top, again. So she'll be raging at the mouth for revenge. Also there's Matt, and Y&R Suckers learned during the Tuesday, February 24th occasion that he was released from custodianship due to validation being compromised, and he was out on the loose again. Matt is just as thirsty for vengeance on the Newmans as Phyllis is, so what are the chances that they run into each other at some point soon and decide to form an alliance? Matt has a hate-on for Nick Newman and Sharon Newman, but also has a newfound misprision for Victor, considering how he's fitted himself into the situation. Alternatively, Phyllis has a problem with her formula-friendly mate, Nick, as she believes he brainwashed their son, Summer Newman, against her. Plus, Sharon was quick to hop on the Team Newman train after the appropriation, so Phyllis won't club an eyelash if Sharon becomes a casualty in all this. Still, what kind of scheme could these two contrive? Despite his rough face, Matt is a businessman, through and through, so will it be more marketable espionage? Also again, they could play mind games and try to ruin the Newmans by intruding with their particular lives, too. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that if Phyllis and Matt decide to align, nothing could stop them from flipping the Newmans' family world upside down, considering both are evil geniuses when it comes to scheming and conniving. On The Young and the Restless, alliances are frequently more dangerous than open warfare, and the bare possibility of Phyllis Summers and Matt Clark joining forces is enough to shoot a bite through Genoa City. Phyllis Summers has no way been one to back down from a fight, especially when it comes to the Newmans. From her foremost clashes with Victor Newman to her complicated, emotionally loaded history with Nick Newman and Sharon Newman, Phyllis has always lived on the edge of chaos. But this time feels different. This time, it isn't just about bruised pride or romantic contest. It's about power, demotion, and vengeance. When Phyllis stole Kane Ashby's groundbreaking AI program and struck her advised deal with Victor Newman, offering him the technology in exchange for control of Jabbo, she believed she was eventually overreaching the mustached Napoleon. For a transitory moment, she stood on top of the commercial world, induced she had beaten Victor at his own ruthless game. Yet Victor, as always, had layers within layers. His manipulation of the AI software, his quiet strategic pivots, and the eventual implosion that bring him Newman Enterprises were all part of a bigger chessboard that many could see. Indeed, when it appeared the AI turned on him and stripped him of his conglomerate, Victor's cryptic departure from City and his confident farewell communication suggested that he was formally three-way ahead. Phyllis may technically be the sole owner of Newman Enterprises at this moment, but anyone who knows Victor understands that power on paper means nothing when he's conniving in the murk. And when he inescapably reclaims his throne, the demotion Phyllis will feel could enkindle a disagreement unlike anything Genoa City has witnessed ahead. Enter Matt Clark, a man lately released from custodianship after compromised substantiation disassembled the case against him. Matt's freedom wasn't a quiet event. It was explosive. The Newmans allowed. They had annulled him, boxed him down as a problem answered. Rather, he walked out with a stewing fury, induced that Victor, Nick, and Sharon had orchestrated his downfall. Matt isn't simply a brute fueled by wrathfulness. Beneath his rough surface lies a calculating businessman who understands influence, timing, and perception. His grudge against Nick Newman is deeply particular, embedded in treason and contest. His resentment toward Sharon Newman has evolved into commodity colder and further strategic. And Victor's hindrance in his legal troubles has converted Matt's wrathfulness into preoccupation. Vengeance, for Matt, isn't about loud explosions, it's about slow dismantling. The idea that Phyllis and Matt could cross paths maybe in the murk of the Grand Phoenix or in a dimly lit corner of society feels nearly ineluctable. Two wounded bloodsuckers circling the same prey. Phyllis's relationship with Nick has fractured beyond simple conciliation. She authentically believes that Nick brainwashed Summer Newman, turning their son against her. To Phyllis, that treason cuts deeper than any commercial loss. Sharon's nippy alignment with Team Newman during the recent Bull of SMR only adds energy to the fire. Phyllis feels insulated, judged, and undervalued. And nothing motivates her further than being dismissed. However, she won't vacillate if she sees Sharon as contributory damage in a larger war. Phyllis has always accounted her worst impulses as necessary survival tactics. Teaming up with Matt might feel less like ill and more like lyrical justice in her mind. After all, if the Newmans can manipulate and scheme, why can't she? The implicit alliance would probably begin cautiously. Neither Phyllis nor Matt trusts fluently. Their first exchanges would be concentrated with veiled pitfalls and subtle tests. Matt would probe her provocations, gauging whether her wrathfulness is sustainable or simply impulsive. Phyllis would assess his stability, icing his not a liability who might buckle at the wrong moment. But once collective benefit becomes clear, the route for collaboration could form snappily. They partake a common adversary. They partake demotion at the hands of Victor. They partake resentment toward Nick and Sharon. And maybe most dangerously, they partake intelligence. Phyllis is a master manipulator, complete at cerebral warfare. Matt brings tolerance and a businessman's perfection. Together, they could design a multi-tiered attack, commercial spying intertwined with particular sabotage. Commercial warfare would probably be their first battleground. Indeed, if Victor regains Newman Enterprises, the transition period could leave vulnerabilities. Matt could exploit old connections, uncover fiscal weak spots, or manipulate board members uncertain about Victor's stability after the AI debacle. Phyllis, with her bigwig knowledge and faculty for digital strategy, could orchestrate information leaks, manipulate media narratives, or detect a non-supervisory scrutiny. A well-timed reproach could rattle investors. A rumored scuttlebutt could fracture administrative fidelity. And unlike former insulated attacks on the Newman conglomerate, this would be coordinated, a pincer movement designed to overwhelm. But maybe the more ruinous strategy would target the family itself. The Newmans' strength has always been their consanity, still fractured. Phyllis understands their emotional fault lines privately. She knows Nick's defensive instincts, Sharon's precariousness, Victoria's grim ambition. Matt, meanwhile, could exploit moping mistrust. Imagine forged dispatches suggesting treason within the family. Imagine offered hassles designed to fuel covetousness and dubitation. A manipulated business document could make it appear that Victoria is undermining Nick. A precisely planted piece of substantiation could suggest Sharon is intimately scheming with an outside rival. The thing wouldn't be immediate destruction, it would be corrosion. Sluggishly, methodically, they would mince down at trust until the Newmans begin to buckle from within. One particularly chilling possibility involves Summer Newman. Phyllis's love for her son is genuine, but it has always been tangled with possessiveness. However, to free her from Victor's shadow, she might justify decreasingly reckless conduct. If Phyllis convinces herself that aligning with Matt is eventually for Summer's benefit, to secure her future. Matt could advise restraint, fating that overt detriment to Summer would alienate implicit public sympathy. Rather, they might use Summer as influence in subtler ways, placing her in positions that strain her fidelity to Nick and Sharon. Emotional manipulation could come their sharpest armament. Victor's ineluctable return to Genoa City would be the catalyst. When he reclaims Newman Enterprises, maybe through a dramatic boardroom achievement or a retired legal clause actuated at the perfect moment, Phyllis's fury would reach its meridian. Intimately, she might essay to maintain countenance, spinning the narrative as a strategic pullout. Intimately, she'd feel the sting of being outplayed yet again. That demotion could solidify her alliance with Matt. No longer would this be about reclaiming power. It would be about dismembering Victor's heritage piece by piece. Of course, alliances forged in vengeance are innately unstable. Phyllis's freakishness could disaccord with Matt's advised tolerance. If one of their schemes misfires, if a forged document is exposed or a manipulated board member confesses, the blame game would begin. Trust between conspirators is always fragile. And in Genoa City, secrets have a way of surfacing at the worst possible moment. A covert meeting eavesdropped. A digital trail uncovered by a smart hacker. A shamefaced heart cracking under pressure. The pressure would make not only within the Newman family but within the alliance itself. Sharon Newman, frequently undervalued, might be the first to smell commodity amiss. Her suspicion, stoned by times of surviving Genoa City's chaos, could pick up on subtle inconsistencies. Nick, driven by instinct and fidelity, might originally dismiss enterprises, until inarguable substantiation emerges. Victoria, ever the strategist, could launch her own counter-investigation, determined to cover the family heritage. And Victor, formally completely reinstated, would not sit actively by. However, his retribution would be nippy and merciless if he suspects Phyllis and Matt are working together. Victor doesn't simply defend, he annihilates. The cerebral warfare would escalate. Anonymous pitfalls. Strategic stock oscillations. Particular secrets exhumed and weaponized. At some point, lines would blur. Phyllis might begin to question how far she's willing to go. Matt, consumed by his vendetta, might push for harsher measures. Their participated thing, destroying the Newmans, could fracture under differing delineations of destroy. Is it fiscal ruin? Emotional desolation? Public disgrace? Each might fantasize a different wind-up. Eventually, the true drama lies not only in whether Phyllis and Matt succeed but in how their alliance reshapes them. Vengeance has a sharp quality. For Phyllis, who has always oscillated between redemption and relapse, this cooperation could mark a point of no return, or the catalyst for tone consummation. For Matt, aligning with someone as unpredictable as Phyllis could either amplify his strategic brilliance or expose his vulnerabilities. And for the Newmans, the trouble of this alliance could force unanticipated consanity, strengthening bonds that had begun to fray. The young and the restless thrives on shifting commitment and explosive exposures. A Phyllis-Matt alliance would deliver both in cornucopia. Boardrooms would come battlefields. Living apartments would transfigure into interrogation chambers. Love would be tested. Trust would be shattered. And at the center of it all would be two wounded, brilliant, dangerously motivated individualities induced that they are justified in tearing down a dynasty. Whether they succeed or buckle under the weight of their own ambition, one thing is certain: Genoa City would no way be the same. As the fallout from Victor's quiet but advised exit continues to ripple across Genoa City on the young and the restless, the atmosphere shifts from query to commodity, far more unpredictable expectation. Everyone who knows Victor Newman understands one inflexible verity: he doesn't lose. Not permanently. The temporary loss of Newman Enterprises, the public embarrassment over the AI debacle, and the vision of vulnerability are all anomalies in a decades-long reign defined by dominance. And when Victor reclaims his conglomerate, as he inescapably will, the emotional shockwave will resonate far beyond the boardroom. For Phyllis Summers, it'll not just be a professional reversal. It'll be a particular obliteration. Phyllis has tasted the intoxicating rush of control. Sitting in the Newman CEO-president, indeed compactly, validated every ruthless threat she has ever taken. It proved, in her mind, that she could outthink Victor at his own game. That moment of triumph rewired her sense of identity. No longer was she the stranger clawing for applicability, she was the whipper. So when Victor stages his return, maybe unveiling a retired clause in the commercial rules or exposing a silent mate who shifts maturity control back into his hands, the demotion will be surgical. Public. Precise. Victor won't simply take back his company. He'll make a spectacle of the recovery. Cameras flashing. Board members saluting. A speech about heritage and adaptability. And nearly in that precisely drafted address, a subtle but unmistakable memorial that Phyllis was no way truly in control. That's the moment Matt Clark has been staying for. Matt understands cerebral fracture points. He studies people the way others study spreadsheets. In Phyllis, he sees brilliance wrapped in volatility. He knows her wrathfulness isn't transitory, it's foundational. But he also knows that rage without direction burns out. So when the preemption occurs, Matt doesn't approach her incontinently. He waits. He allows the demotion to raise. He lets her stew in insulation as former abettors part themselves and Genoa City whispers about her overreach. Only when she's stewing, when pride has disgruntled into fury, does he step forward. Their alternate true meeting, the bone, that seals the alliance, is quieter than anticipated. No dramatic affirmations. No theatrical promises of vengeance. Rather, it's clinical. Matt presents data, substantiation of subtle cracks within Newman Enterprises. A division underperforming. A crucial superintendent harboring resentment over Victor's authoritarian leadership style. A pending non-supervisory review that could be nudged into a full-scale disquisition with the right anonymous tip. Phyllis listens, eyes sharp, the bus turning. For the first time since her fall, she feels the intoxicating pull of strategy rather than chaos. Their first coordinated strike is nearly unnoticeable. A tail crusade targeting investor confidence. Anonymous fiscal blogs begin questioning Victor's stability after the AI incident. An assiduity critic releases a report suggesting Newman Enterprises may be overleveraged following recent restructuring. None of it's overtly scandalous. All of it's presumptive. Stocks dip, not catastrophically, but enough to beget pressure in the superintendent's suite. Victoria grows protective in board meetings. Nick questions whether aggressive expansion is wise under current scrutiny. Victor senses manipulation but lacks concrete evidence. Meanwhile, Phyllis launches a resemblant assault on the particular front. She understands Nick's emotional patterns better than anyone. His defensive instincts are both his strength and his weakness. Phyllis begins planting seeds, subtle commentary about Sharon's adding influence in commercial opinions, hints that Sharon may be steering Nick toward choices that eventually profit her own interests. At first, Nick dismisses the imputations. But mistrustfulness, formally introduced, infrequently disappears entirely. A late-night meeting between Sharon and Victoria becomes questionable. A private phone call raises questions. Nick's confidence wavers, not because he distrusts Sharon, but because Phyllis knows exactly which emotional passions to strike. Matt, for his part, focuses on Sharon directly. He orchestrates a script in which Sharon receives anonymous dispatches inferring that Nick has been passing in Phyllis again, strategizing behind her reverse. Sharon, who has fought hard to make stability in her life, feels old precariousness resurface. She doesn't defy Nick incontinently. She withdraws. The emotional distance becomes conspicuous. Nick senses it but misinterprets the cause. The pressure between them becomes rich ground for further manipulation. As weeks pass, the alliance grows bolder. Matt uncovers a mid-level Newman superintendent with gambling debts. With careful influence, he secures access to internal dispatches. Non-public memos leak to challengers. A minor product launch falters due to unseasonable exposure. Victoria suspects commercial spying but struggles to trace the breach. Victor becomes decreasingly perverse, snapping at inferiors, demanding fidelity checkups. His paranoia, justified though it may be, creates a climate of fear. And sweat erodes consanity. Phyllis, inspired by progress, pushes for escalation. She proposes a direct mega-hit, fabricating substantiation of fiscal misconduct that would spark a civil disquisition. Matt hesitates. That position of exposure pitfalls blowback, however, consequences would be disastrous if the fabrication is uncovered. Their alliance jests its first real fracture. Phyllis accuses Matt of losing his wimwams. Matt counters that tolerance is what separates victors from casualties. The argument reveals a abecedarian difference. Phyllis seeks emotional exculpation. Matt seeks systemic collapse. To recalibrate, Matt suggests a different tactic, weaponizing fidelity. He identifies a long-serving Newman hand overlooked for creation constantly. Through interposers, he offers the pledge of advancement within a rival pot in exchange for strategic misinformation inside Newman Enterprises. The hand, bitter and exhausted, agrees. Soon, Victor's internal protrusions come disposed. Investments are diverted grounded on falsified data. A promising accession falls through because due industriousness reports were still altered. The damage accumulates gradationally. Not enough to destroy, but enough to destabilize. At home, the strain intensifies. Nick and Sharon argue more constantly. Victoria questions Nick's commitment to the company. Summer feels caught in the crossfire, seeing swings she cannot complete.